BeastNet is brought to you by James Safety Services in partnership with OCR Buddy and OCR Strong. Here we discuss all things OCR and fitness related. Welcome to BeastNet.
I guess we'll just jump right into this.
Yeah.
Go for it. All right. So how you been?
I am exhausted. Like I am beyond exhausted. In a good way, I suppose. Like training is going phenomenal, but like it's also kicking my butt and I really want a break. I need sleep more than anything else, and I can never get it.
Yeah, I know that feeling lately.
Yeah.
That's one thing I need to. It's one of those I've got. The big race is over. Ironman's done. I got that one. But then I got more races coming up in June and July and stuff like that, and I'm just like, but it's that narrow thing of taking time to let your body heal, but not taking too much.
Right.
And that's where I think I kind of, because I did something to my hamstring at Ironman. I've been still having issues with it. So I was taking it easy for like the last 3 weeks, but then I just did an ultra over the weekend.
Oh, right. Congratulations. That's
Thank
so
you.
exciting.
I got the buckle, but geez, man, there was a lot of sand, which everyone said is not normal for Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot more sand than anyone was used to. So all of us, by the end of the 30 miles, our hips, and I already had issues with my hamstring. So yeah, my hamstring was angry. My hip was angry, but I mean, I finished it. So,
Well, I was gonna say hip problems, remember, that's a symptom, not a cause.
yeah, no.
Got to figure out what the cause is if you want to prevent any symptoms from coming on.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
think a lot of it is it comes from whatever I did to my hamstring. So, because I'm still not able to run or do things the way I normally would because I have that pain in the hamstring, which I
My,
was hoping would have gone away. It was getting better, it was feeling better, but then after 30 miles, it's like, no, hey, I'm back.
how is your glute activation?
I have no idea, honestly. Probably not good. I've been
Okay.
working on more um both legs. If I know you called it something else.
Unilateral,
There we go. That was the word I was looking for. More
single leg
you,
work.
yes, unilateral work, single leg work, trying to get more, into hopefully that making it feel better, but it's still just not. It doesn't seem to want to go where it should be what it should be. And I don't know if maybe that's just because I'm not giving enough time to heal.
Um, you could probably stand to use more glute activation, strength stability, glute hamstring connection stuff. I would also improve your ankle mobility along with your hip mobility. Um, and bonus, how is your thoracic spine?
I don't know. It doesn't hurt.
Well, it usually doesn't hurt with a lot of people. It
No.
usually is completely collapsed and forward rounded, and that then puts too much pressure onto your hips and your hamstrings.
Yeah.
So your hips take over and then everything is kind of out of whack. Ultimately, I'm trying to say you need a lot more work on your posterior chain as a whole,
Yes. Yes.
because right now the hamstring is a broken link, but there is a different link that was broke before that caused this one to break.
Yes. Which I completely agree with. I completely agree with. So the other thing I have been working on stretching. I've been working on the unilateral, like I said, and then I've also been using I think I told you before I got the sauna tent.
Yep.
So I've been using that and the ice bath. So
How do you love that?
it makes me feel a lot better, honestly. I,
Hey,
I I've, I had issues after the ultra because I mean it was one of the things I normally don't do where I fly down, do the races, and then fly back. Like
okay.
literally after I finished the sprint, I hung out for a little bit, got out of the parking lot. An hour and a half later, I got out of the parking lot. Yeah, their parking was not good. Took an hour
Oof.
and a half to get out. Drove to the airport, got on the plane, and flew home. I was home at like 3 in the morning.
Yikes.
So I didn't really get a lot of time to stretch, a lot of time to do much. I didn't even get a shower. So I felt bad for all the people on the plane around me. But but I got home, showered, slept for a couple hours, um, and then just wasn't feeling great at all. But I had stuff I had to do, so didn't really, get a chance to do any kind of, try and make myself feel better. Same thing Tuesday, going to work, trying to get caught up on stuff, just didn't do. And then last night I finally used the sauna, used the ice bath, and like all the stuff that's been bugging me like the last 3 days, gone.
Perfect.
So, I mean, there's still the hamstrings a little bit, but it's 10 times better than it was, Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, what are you doing for it?
The hamstring,
Yeah,
rolling, um, foam rolling, and then stretching.
just like static stretching, dynamic, what
Mainly
kind of
static.
stretches?
Trying to
Okay,
do a little bit of dynamic, like kind of, yeah, dynamic as I walk, kind of stretch it out, but it's mainly static.
okay. Static stretching is outdated. We don't really do it anymore.
But it feels good. It like gets it.
I know if you're going to static stretch after your workout in like your cool down.
Mm,
But if you're going to want to improve your mobility, it's better to use natural motion. I like to incorporate a lot of functional mobility into my workouts. And, I start everybody off with like animal flow and like different kinds of movement based
yeah.
warm-ups, activations, but I also like to throw in exercises that are going to increase your joint mobility or how much it can move and strengthen as a whole.
Yeah.
So like you're, not just doing a strength exercise, you're not just doing a stretch, but like you are utilizing that full range of motion and then teaching your body how to activate and stabilize through that entire movement.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, I've been trying to, because obviously my body's sore right now, so it wasn't a lot of hard workouts, but do kind of the deep, it sounds, I don't know how to explain it, like step deeply, basically to try and get as you're walking. And then when we were watching TV, instead of sitting down, I was standing up behind the couch and like basically doing a static stretch of putting my leg on the back of the couch, up on the backrest of the couch and like leaning forward on it, trying to just stretch out that hamstring.
Okay, when was the last time you did a hip flexor stretch?
Isn't that what that one is?
No, that's a hamstring stretch.
Well, I mean, yeah, up on the couch, like so my leg's flat and then I lean forward on it.
That is very much a hamstring stretch, not a hip flexor
Well,
stretch.
how do you stretch your hip flexors?
You kneel on, you can do like a half kneel position and you, I mean, most people can literally just kneel onto one knee, sit upright, and maybe put the arm on the same side where the knee is down, up overhead. And that's probably going to light their hip flexor up because they're so tight.
Yeah.
Your hip flexor flexes the hip,
Yeah.
the hamstring extends the hip. So
Okay.
to stretch your hip flexor, you need to extend it, and to stretch your hamstring, you need to flex it. But a lot of times, because they are reciprocal, when you feel like your hamstring is tight,
Hmm.
it really could just potentially be getting overstretched while the hamstring is way too tight and isn't getting stretched enough. So if you keep stretching an already tight muscle, you're just like pulling it farther and farther and farther and farther and decreasing how much activation you can get with it.
That makes sense.
So I would say instead of strictly doing hamstring stuff, do more hip flexor stretching, do more pigeon stretching, do more glute bridges.
Which one's the pigeon? And I think that's because what I was trying to explain is what I do is like where you bring your knee like up to your chest, like sideways, and then lay down on it. I basically do that on the
Yeah,
couch.
that's like a pigeon.
Yeah.
I would say actually just do a 90-90 stretch because that's going to get wherever you're tight in your hips versus like trying to figure out which muscle it is and like a lot of trial and error.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, that's one of the things because that's what's I think one of the hardest things for me is because my generation, we were taught static stretching.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's learning that new relearning a lot of the stuff. And I mean, that's one thing I really found when I've gotten more into fitness is how many times that I have that, this is what I was taught in school, and then realizing like they were completely and utterly wrong. Like almost everything they taught me to do in school for stretching, for that kind of stuff, it's like, no, they've proven that none of this is right. It's like the food pyramid, the four food groups, completely wrong, really, the way they taught it to us, in the 80s and 90s. So,
I don't know anything about taxes aside from I need to pay them. I pay somebody
yeah,
to stay updated on what I'm supposed to do with my taxes.
which is
Why
why,
do people continue to think, oh, well, I learned this back in high school about health and fitness, so I think I can go and do this. Us as professionals, we have to maintain our certifications. We need to continue the continuing education. We are staying up to date on everything. We're constantly adapting and evolving our training
Mhm.
skills. Pay us to keep your body healthy and moving properly so you don't have to do this trial and error and you don't have to live by these outdated mindsets. I mean, look at how many people are still doing crunches. Hell, DecaFit went and put it in their race. We should
Mhm.
not be doing crunches.
Mm.
And I mean, I'll give DecaFit credit. I haven't done it. I know that there are sit-ups with a ball toss. That is better because it's a longer lever. You're not doing the actual crunch as opposed to a long lever sit-up. It's better. But core training now is not sit-ups. You are not going to get peak physique by doing sit-ups. You need other things. Yes, you can do them, but you need just as much back work to keep your entire body upright because nobody wants to see you hunched over, even if it means you have one or two abs popping out.
Yeah.
But that is my tangent. I I don't pretend to step into a space that I know nothing about, even if, I took home economics in high school. I can cook for myself. I am not about to go and claim to be a renowned chef. I am not going to ever think that the food I make for myself is anything more than just satisfactory. If you want results, if you want to eat very well, go to a trained chef, somebody who
Yeah.
knows a little bit more and who is staying more up to date to constantly evolve. Same with, your lawyers, your doctors, your everything. So when it comes to fitness, if you have to say, oh, I only know what I know from high school, or I've been doing this for so long, I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
The fitness industry is changing
Yeah,
legitimately every single day. If you've been doing this for so long and you're continuing to do the same thing over and over and over, you
exactly.
probably don't know what you're doing anymore.
No. Well, and that's the thing. It's like for me, like, my job in, real life is safety. And that's one of my biggest arguments I use all the time. Just because it's the way you've always done it doesn't mean it's right, you know.
Right.
Um, so I mean it's the same thing with workouts, but it's still the same. You get that stuck in your head, like, oh, this worked for me once before, but things were different then. It worked for you, but did it really?
Right. Exactly.
Or was it something else you were doing that really worked?
Yeah.
Or, you were 20 years younger, so of course it worked for you because your metabolism was 10 times better. What other things worked then may not work now. So that's why you need a coach, you need a nutritionist, you need stuff like that to help you because you say it all the time, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm trying to get back into feeling a little bit better. I've got one more race this weekend, but it's just a sprint triathlon.
Okay.
So it's small. Um, and then I don't have anything till like the end of June when I do the CC
Okay.
race. So I need to get back into the physicalness of it all and getting really, I don't know. I got to figure out the foot issue because I've never had a problem until the last like 2 year and a half with uh blisters like I have been. But that's another whole issue. So
Were you dealing with blisters when your hamstring flared up?
no, it wasn't until after.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not until after they flared up when the blisters started having problems.
Is it the same side or the opposite side?
It's both sides.
Oh, I am curious if there's something going on with your gait. So, I said the hamstring is a symptom of
Hmm.
something. Blisters are a symptom of something.
Yes.
So maybe your gait is just completely thrown off. There is, you know, a cog in the whole machine, and you are getting all of these symptoms saying something needs to be changed. We need to figure it out. And instead of, I need to figure out the blisters, I need to figure out the hamstring, I need to figure out what's causing this.
Yes.
Because you correct the problem, everything starts to work its way out.
Yeah. And that's something I need to do. I need to try and figure out what it is. Because it's all of a sudden, I mean, I've had blisters a little bit. And I mean, I did what? One time way back in Hawaii, like in 2017 or 18, I had a major issue with blisters. But it was because I knew it happened that time. I freaking was bloated because I didn't freaking wear shoes for a week and then decided to try putting trail shoes on and run a Spartan race. So, and my feet were head swollen. So that one was I knew what caused that one, but this one, yeah, it was quite interesting. I mean, it was like Saturday or Sunday when I went to race. I was talking to someone. I'm like, I need to pop these, and they're like, Yeah, you shouldn't do that because of the dirt and all that. And I'm like, I get it, but at this point, they're so painful that if I don't, I'm not gonna be able to walk on them to get 10 miles. So I got them fixed. They're better now. I've taken care of them, cleaned them up, but it's still one of those that it's like I'm not sure why I got them.
Were they new Ultra shoes?
They were new-ish, but I switched shoes halfway through. I wore one pair that I've had for about a year and a half. I've done a couple races in. Um, the pair that I wore for the second half, I've only had for about a month and a half, but I mean, there's probably 40 miles on them of hiking and running through the state park out here.
Okay. The old pair, how often were you wearing them?
Mm, once, maybe. I haven't worn them really probably since I got the new pair. So it's been about a month and a half since I wore them, but I was wearing them once or twice a month. So I mean, it wasn't a whole lot.
And what did your hamstring become aggravated before or after the last time you wore them?
It was after the last time I wore them because I didn't wear them. I wasn't doing a lot of trail running getting up to the Ironman. I
So
was doing more
has
street.
your gait and your wear pattern changed, and now your shoes are forcing you into an old wear pattern?
It's possible. It's possible because yeah, if I hadn't worn them before, I probably changed into a different gait pattern because of my hamstring, which probably made me run different in the shoes,
Yeah.
which would have yeah. And they all would have been, except for the very last time I wore the new pair, and I only did, I think, a 7 mile hike
Okay.
with them. I already had the hamstring issue at that time, but I'd worn them, a couple times before that, getting them more broken in.
Okay. So make sure you're just testing your shoes before. Like,
Mhm.
for instance, I'm running toughest, not this weekend, but next weekend. And I know that I'm gonna wear my Lone Peaks. I haven't worn really my Lone Peaks in a while. So I wore them for 11 miles on Saturday, 6 miles on Sunday. Feel great. I don't anticipate getting anything more than maybe 15 to 20 in my Lone Peaks before I need to change out. And then I was wearing my old Timps that I've been running inconsistently since that Don't Run Boston race.
Yeah.
And I also have tested out my Olympus, and I know, okay, I have 3 pairs of shoes to bring down with me just in case. I'm good to go. They
Yeah.
all work.
And that was why I brought two pairs. I had the two different,
Yep.
and they're both Lone Peaks. But one's I think a 7 and the other's an 8 because one's
Oh,
last year and one's this year.
okay, yeah,
Which I will say this, the 8s have the traction on the new ones is
yeah.
better.
Really?
They're
That's
getting
awesome.
closer to they're getting closer to the MTs. They're not MTs yet, but they were close.
Good.
So
Yeah, we
they
still
got
need drainage.
the biggest problem that I've had with those, and I think it's for the first time I think I need to get gaiters because I think that's part of the problem that I ran into on this one. Sand.
Mm-hmm.
I kept getting sand into my shoes to where it was under my feet.
Yeah.
And I'd have to stop and dump it. And that's where I was getting where I got the blisters. It's right on the pads of my toe, right behind my toes, right where you run. So the parts that are hitting the ground the most, and I think that's where the sand was sitting. So I think
Yep.
that's another problem is because with not having the gaiters and getting, but I've never had that problem before. So it was just kind of
Mm-hmm.
a new thing because I don't think I've ever really it's the first time I've really done races with that kind of like fine sand in them. I did Vegas a couple times, but there was nothing ever bigger than a sprint and a super. And I always had two different pairs of shoes. So I'd wear one on the sprint, one on the super, and you weren't in the sand that long enough to feel it. And this
Right.
race was a lot of sand. Houston
Okay.
was too. Uh, so it's just,
Okay.
it's all different things. So I mean, there's always something that's affecting it. And it's just a matter, like you said, I need to figure out what's going on weird with my gait. Because of that, you know, it's either my hamstring or it's my hip. It's one of the two. Something's going weird. But, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think I thought it was my hamstring for the longest time, but I'm starting to think more and more it's my hip because that's one thing I've had issues with that hip in the past. The first time I tried to do a 50 miler, I was at mile 42 that hip locked up.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
so
I would have
it's,
guessed hip.
yeah.
Always look
So
at the joints above and below first.
yeah, so I gotta get that figured out. But luckily, like I said, I don't have a big event until the end of June, so I need to start training, figure out what that is, work on the unilateral training, and get ready for CSU in June.
That's gonna come up quick. You better
About a month and a
get that
half.
figured out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so
Yeah.
but I've only got this year's gonna be it's more than I did last year, but I don't think it's gonna be. I've got those, June, July, and right now after that, I don't have a whole lot that I'm looking at after that. I
Okay.
might, I might I haven't decided yet, but it really depends on how I get with this hip or my left leg. I was thinking about the Waco Ironman,
Okay. Nice.
but I definitely want to do the Ironman next year because I want to get under that 8 hours and 30 minutes
Yeah.
because that's been eating at me. It's like I finished it, but I feel like I didn't quite get it because I didn't get that 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you know how it is.
Oh, I definitely do.
So what have you been up to lately?
Um, Training a lot, a lot, a
I see
lot.
it, and I do have to say this: your pictures, you can see the the effects of how much you're training and how much your body is changing from your training.
So I haven't really actually changed my training at all. My training has been what it's been for
Yeah,
years. Um, it's strictly a couple of minor changes to my diet that has like unlocked this whole new level for me.
yeah.
It's absolutely unreal. And like, it's literally just, I put the CGM on and I started to see how my body was responding to certain foods. And then it was like a puzzle. Okay, well, what did I eat that caused that and what can I change? And like the CGM that I'm using, it's great. It has a like AI like optimization, quote unquote, where, you put your food in and then it says, okay, based on what you just put in, you should try adding this, substitute this, change this. And
Hmm.
it gives you like these little suggestions to try. So it hopefully doesn't spike it the next time you eat it. I have been eating the exact same thing for lunch all week. It was a cauliflower and brown rice mixture with black beans, pulled chicken, guacamole, and then I swapped out my normal tortilla chips for those Siete chips. They're
Hmm.
like gluten-free. One of my clients is like, she was on a CGM before and she's like, yeah, these were great. I never spiked. So I'm like, oh, I'll give these a try. And then I was like eating them and all week, spike, 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 spike. So today, I ran out of the chips and I ate I was also out of black beans. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to eat the brown rice and cauliflower rice mixture with pulled chicken and guacamole. I like ate it with a fork. No spike at all. It went from like, this is the worst thing you can eat to, hey, look, you didn't spike a single bit. And it's all because I didn't eat tortilla chips. And I mean, the black beans, there was a little bit of black beans that I was eating. And usually I have no problems with black beans. So it's like, bam, there you go. When I was eating my
Hmm.
popcorn, I love popcorn more than anything. Spike, spike, spike. I would spend all night, like while I was sleeping, just constantly like up spiked with my blood sugars, and my body was just so upset with me. And the AI optimization was like, hey, eat a little bit of peanut butter before you eat the popcorn. No spike. And
Interesting.
like some of the biggest changes that I've made with this, chicken thighs instead of chicken breast, whole milk Greek yogurt instead of fat-free Greek yogurt, eat more butter, eat more guacamole. Like I've only really ramped up my fats and I've cut out like the high or the low fat stuff. And I can eat cheese, I can eat charcuterie, no problem. Like my body loves it. It was
Hmm.
all just learning that I didn't have enough fats in my diet. And like, I mean, I throw chia seeds with my Greek yogurt and like I will use olive oils. I love avocado, but like I just wasn't eating enough of any of it. And I remember back when COVID hit and I like slimmed way down. I was like, oh, it must be because I'm doing all the online workouts with clients. I'm leading Animal Flow online. I have nothing better to do, so I'm doing 2 to 3 workouts for myself a day. But then like I was eating a lot of cauliflower, which I'm eating a lot of cauliflower right now. But like I'm also eating a lot of just other random veggies that are really high in fiber. And then I was like, wow, I've dropped so much body fat like during COVID. I was like, I just need more avocados, avocado, avocado, avocado. And like it was not coming back on at all. So I'm like, that was the key for me. I needed more fats in my diet.
Hmm.
I needed more fatty meats. I needed, who knew the girl from Wisconsin who loves cheese can eat as much cheese as she wants. I mean, yeah, saturated fats are still a thing, but right now I'm not seeing any fat get retained. Then I've just been drinking more and more water.
Yeah.
And like because of it, I'm sleeping better. My mental health is in a better state. Obviously, we've seen the pictures on Instagram.
Mhm.
My physique is like trimming down. I did not do this at all for physique. I don't care about physique. Yeah, I've always wanted abs because I've never had abs and I've had body dysmorphia my entire life. So like it would be cool to like have abs or like for my arms that I've always thought were just like massive and fat to like have some definition, especially now that I have a new tattoo to show off.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, I would love that, but that's not why I do it. Um, and then my pacing, it's unreal. I took my tempo run from the week before I put the CGM on and I paired it next to my run from today. I was running about 9:30-ish pacing for my tempo runs. My heart rate was spiking up, over 174. Now my tempo run from this week, I will say, it was like the first 70-degree day in Boston, direct sunlight. It was miserable. Yes, my heart rate spiked. But last week, even where it wasn't miserably hot outside, I was still running an 8:20 pace. I've been on this for 8 weeks. I have dropped over a minute pace on my tempo run, and my heart rate's not spiking up.
That's awesome. So now the CGM, that's what the constant glucose monitoring, correct?
Yes, the continuous glucose monitor.
Continuous, that's what it was. Now, with that, now the one you have is it one that's it's obviously attached to you somehow so you can measure it. So does it just automatically talk to your phone or the app and tell you this is what you're doing?
Yeah, literally, it pairs in with an app on my phone. I'm starting to spike because I ate a little bit of Halo Top, but um, it pairs directly into an app on my phone, and then so it actually has 2 apps because the first app is like the CGM specifically,
Hmm.
but then that imports the data into the tracking account for the platform that I'm using, which is called Ultra Human. They just came to the US, but they've worked with elite athletes in like the UAE and overseas in the Middle East, maybe a little bit in like Europe, and it just got approved for the States. So the CGM data crosses into this app, and then it also pairs with my Garmin, with my Fitness Pal. So I enter what I ate into my Fitness Pal, or you can enter it straight into this app, but I'm like, meh, like it's just so much easier to do it into my Fitness Pal because it's more like intricate and like you can put
Yeah.
in specifics, whatever else. And then it auto syncs onto the timeline, and it'll keep track of what specific meals did for you. So, like I was saying, my lunch today had a perfect rating. I don't know if you can see that. Why I hate this blurred background thing. Um, I don't know how to even change it off.
I kind of saw
There.
it for a second and then it blurred out. But
Yeah, I don't know what this does. Um, is it the background? I
yeah,
want. Oh, I don't know how to get it off of that. It's so dumb.
it's okay.
Um, but it gives, I don't know, can you see that maybe
Oh yeah,
now?
yeah.
So it gives a score based on what the food is. So like I said, that was my like really good meal from today. 10 out of 10 stable response. Perfect meal when it was like a 2 yesterday because I ate some tortilla chips.
Hmm.
So it gives a rating for what I'm eating. It tells me like there's like all of these different little notifications like, oh, last night I taught at the Phoenix until 7:30. One of my clients decided, I walked out the door, and every week I'm like, I have to get home. I have a 5:30 a.m. client. I have to eat something. I have to get to bed. And every week it's like, oh, great, I'll walk out with you. And then she needs to talk for like 10, 15 minutes. Bless her heart.
Yes.
But I'm like, I need food. I need to get to bed. I have a 5:30 a.m. client, which means I am up at 4:15. So like it yelled at me today, last meal timing. Oh, you ate after 8 o'clock. You should eat a little earlier. Or it told me rest up a little because my blood glucose average has been a little too high. And like I said, I am exhausted right now. I'm not getting the sleep I'm needing. I'm not getting my recovery like I want. It's sensing that, and my blood glucose is higher because of it. Okay, I need more recovery. If I spike, it's like, oh, you went hyperglycemic. If it crashes, oh, look, you crashed. The goal is to not let your body spike and drop, because the more you spike and
Yep.
drop, then that's triggering more of like your hormonal responses, and your body needs to figure out like how to remain stable on its own. Like you think of that Snickers commercial, like you're not you when you're hungry. Well, you get that hangry because your blood glucose is dropping really low. So
Yeah.
you're very irritable. And that's usually when you like shove food down your face and like you don't care what you're eating, just get something in my system now. So the goal is to keep it stable so you never get to that point. And if your body is constantly processing whatever is you put into your body, then you don't need your hormones to kind of fluctuate to figure out,
Yeah. Well, and a
how
lot
to
of people don't think
process
about
and
that.
yeah,
That it affects what you eat doesn't just affect you physically, it affects you. I mean, it affects you physically with the idea that as your blood sugars raise and lower, like you said, your hormones try and adjust to deal with that, which causes your mental, causes you to, gain weight, hold weight, everything else. And a lot of it is if you can keep that glucose level nice and even, it helps a lot of things.
yeah, your body can then process everything so much more efficiently. I mean, we've already talked about it. The only time I would ever say go eat junk food is during an ultra. But if you've trained your body so well, like I had mentioned when we talked about World's Toughest Mudder, I purged sugars for 2 weeks. I got to World's Toughest Mudder, attempted to eat some candy, and I was like, this is disgusting. My body
Hmm.
can't handle it. I don't need these sugars. I wanted more natural sugars because my body has had grown accustomed to processing it over those 2 weeks. Now I'm about to go into toughest mudder off of 2 months of no sugars. I've significantly dropped my carbohydrates, but like I said today, I ate rice tonight mixed with cauliflower rice, no glucose spike. So I'm not avoiding rice. I'm just learning how to eat carbs with, the fats and the fibers and the proteins to slow the digestion down. So
Hmm.
it's not spiking, dropping, spiking, dropping. Because a lot of the problem with junk foods is that glycemic index is so incredibly high that, like, the second you go to digest it, it spikes your blood sugars. It spikes it and drops it, and then you're hangry, you go back, you need more, you get these cravings, you can never just eat one potato chip or one Oreo. You
No.
always want to go back and get more and get more and get more.
Hmm.
And I mean, there's so much more, emotional and psychological response to that as well, because you do have other hormones like, the endorphins get released when you eat junk foods, and it makes you really happy. And you're like, oh, I'm really happy. My blood sugar just spiked and now it crashed again. I'm really hungry and I'm really mad. So it's like there's so much more that goes into this whole blood glucose factor than just like, hey, we're eating to keep this stable. We're actually keeping our body functioning properly without any little bit of like excitement shooting through. Like, we don't want the building on fire 24/7. It's not, I'm on fire now, put it out, on fire, put it out.
Hmm.
It's, hey, we're just keeping the building running happy. And that's literally all I've been doing. Like, there is no secret weapon to this. I decided to look into optimizing my own personal nutrition. You might be listening to this and say, oh man, Megan just changed out all of this and just added so much fat into her diet. I'm going to do that. Well, no, that's not necessarily what your body needs.
No.
Like I said, my client told me about these gluten-free tortilla chips. I gave them a try. I spiked massively. Okay, now
Well,
I know.
we all have different bodies.
Yeah, we all have different bodies. Literally, my sister texted me last week and she gets on to these fad
Hmm.
different things. And it's like a constant battle because I try to explain to her like the science of everything. And she's like, oh, but I read this book and it told me that I need to do this, 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 this. Oh, well, I talked to this nutritionist and they told me to try this, 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 this. Like, okay, like that's great that you're like getting more information before just like saying, hey, I want to go do some crunches. But like, when was the last time you looked at something and said, what does my body need specifically? You know, we all go on to our Spartan forums and say, hey, what shoes should I wear? What leggings do I need to get? What are the best exercises to improve my pull up game or my grip strength? And I am the first person that goes on to every single one and says, what one person says works for them, it doesn't mean it works for you. You got to figure out what works best for you. Well, I literally like contacted my coach and was like, hey, I have been looking in deeper and deeper into CGMs. And I want to figure out what my body needs specifically because I have very strict goals. And I know my diet has always been one of the weaker areas. I've never eaten bad, but I wouldn't say that I was eating great either.
Yeah.
So if I want to go for major numbers at toughest, at infinity, at world's toughest mudder, I want to eat to perform. I want to figure out my nutrition throughout every single day because my days are really long. I need to make sure my sleep is great, my mental health is great. I want to make sure my energy levels are staying up. I need to make sure my nutrition is where it's at so my body can stay functioning all day, whether it's a training day, a rest day, a racing day, or whatever else.
Hmm.
So I said the only way I can figure out what works best for me is to get on a CGM and figure it out for myself,
Yeah.
see what my body is doing and how it responds to every little thing I put into it.
And see, that's what's
And yeah,
I've gotten nice. You mentioned the thing about Spartan. Everyone's like, "Oh, what should I get for this?" You're seeing more and more people are like, "For shoes, go get tested." You know,
yes.
go to a running store, have them look at your feet, check your gait, see what shoes are going to be best for you. When it comes to like diet, what food should I get? Talk to a nutritionist, talk to somebody, and there's getting more and more, and people are starting to understand that what worked well for me isn't gonna work necessarily well for you. It might be one of those things I've seen so many times. Oh, someone's on a race and they're like, "Oh yeah, my friend said this stuff is great to have on a race, and it's really good for you or something." And then all of a sudden they eat it, and 10 minutes later they're in the bushes puking, and it's like, is that the first time you've ever eaten that? Yeah, that's a problem.
Well, that's why we tell people, don't just rely on Spartan to
No,
have something out there for you to eat. They've had pickle juice out
I
there.
love
Not
pickle juice.
everybody can handle pickle juice or that product of pickle juice or the honey stingers or the Cliff Blocks. I mean, I've seen them have like C4 before a race, and I would see friends take C4 before they went out onto a beast, and I was like, what are you doing? That is not for aerobic performance. Oh, well, but they had it at the start line. Like, well, yeah, because Cellucor is pumping their product.
Hmm.
They don't care that you don't understand the science behind it. Like, at the end of the day, you just signed your death waiver. And if your heart explodes on this race, they are not liable because, you know, nothing there said, here, take this or go run the race or whatever else. I
Yeah.
mean, you could have had little kids be like, ooh, Kool-Aid, while they're waiting for mom and dad to cross the finish line, and next thing you know, they're bouncing off the walls with a substance that shouldn't be taken before the age of 16. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things like you see all the time, like with, these other products where they're like, big, huge sponsors of sporting events, and the athletes are looking, going, I wouldn't, I have to do this because it's part of my contract, but I wouldn't eat this crap.
yeah,
It was all the time. Like McDonald's was a huge sponsor of like the Olympics for years, and you'd see all the time where athletes would do interviews later, is like, oh yeah, I won't eat that. I'm not putting that crap in my mouth. But they sponsored it. Oh, this athlete said to take it. Yeah, because someone paid him.
yeah. I'm gonna say it like I have talked so much about this CGM with so many people. Like the studio that I'm working at, they sent me a list of questions because they want to find out all the information. The studio owner's like, you have me convinced. Like your results are phenomenal.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go do this. Talking to my coach, he was the one that gave me the name of this product because he had been following what like big wearable companies
Yeah.
were bringing CGM tracking. And he said, hey, check this one out. So I did. And he's like, they should really like sponsor you or they should bring you on as an ambassador or something because your results are phenomenal. Like your training is going so phenomenally well. Like your pacing is dropping. Like you are a poster child right now for what it is that this is supposed to do. And like, I am telling everybody and like, hey, ultra human, if you want to like, you know, discount my CGMs or whatever else. Like, I'm going to continue to push it on anybody who wants to talk about it. Like, and just like when I told my sister as she's freaking out saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't do what you're doing for your diet. Like, you need specific things and I need the specific things." And I'm like, "No, I'm telling you to get on a CGM, not because I want you to eat like I eat. I want you to figure out what your body needs so you can optimize your own health and wellness. Getting on a CGM does not mean you are going to eat my diet. Getting on a CGM means you are going to finally figure out your dietary lifestyle." So yeah, I'm going to recommend it to literally everybody. So hey, again, Ultra Human, if you want to, give me a discount code, give me a commission on that.
Yes, please.
I'm literally like telling everybody that they should do it. And I know you're still, young in the States. So use me. I will gladly continue to push it because I believe in it.
Now, question on that. It's a wearable, like you said, but what kind of wearable?
So it's a continuous glucose monitor. So it's got a tiny needle that, you push a button and it inserts this little patch right onto your arm.
Mhm.
You don't feel the thing. You wear it for 2 weeks. It syncs directly to your phone. If you close the app specifically for the CGM, it yells at you and says, "Hey, don't turn me off." But in in the event, like I'm gonna go run toughest, it can hold that data. I don't know what the exact time frame is, but I know that it is going to hold all of my nutritional data if it can't sync to my phone for, at least 24 hours, if not longer. So, I'm hoping that, when I come into the pit, I will try and have my pit crew with my glucose like on their phone as well so they can see it as I come in and be like, "Oh, hey, just so you know, you spiked or fell at this time and like just so you know." But I'm not relying on it. Like I have done so much training with it now and I've learned so much about how my body is now
Mhm.
converting fats to glucoses. I mean, my run today, it was a recruitment workout where I did deadlifts into sprints and then I pulled the tire and I sprinted. And yeah, I ate some Greek yogurt with right beforehand with a little bit of berries, literally a tablespoon of granola and a tablespoon of chopped pecans. And then I went into my run and my blood glucose, it spiked a little bit before because my body was processing that fruit from the Greek
Mhm.
yogurt. It dipped a little bit and then I started my run and that blood glucose shot way up because my body was converting its fats into more glucose because I was doing such high intensity workouts. And it was like
Mm.
the highest my glucose has been through this entire thing. And it was only because I was getting my workout in and my body did like the good converting to have enough glucose available for how high my heart rate was going. So the intensity was high enough that my glucose was like, "Oh, we need additional glycogen to
Mm.
keep you functioning so you don't bunk." And that's what we want. That is the whole purpose behind all of this is to keep track of when I'm training specifically, is my body burning strictly carbs, only what I'm eating right there, or is it going into my fat stores? Is it turning my fat stores into the glycogen when I need it to? So when I get out on race day, I can feel the little bit of changes through my body and be like, "Oh, like I feel like my blood sugar is dropping a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to eat every 45 minutes. I know what I'm going to eat when I'm going to eat it." But like I know just how well my body is converting the fat into that glycogen now, and I can maximize that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one thing is too, is like you kind of pointed at it. The idea of this is to learn. You learn what your body can do. You learn how your body reacts to things. So when you come to race day, you don't need to have it on you. You can because how your body reacts because you've been wearing it for, months now,
Mm-hmm.
So when you come in and it says, hey, you had these issues, you spiked here, whatever, I'm guessing in most ways you're going to know that already because you're going to feel it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because ultimately the goal is don't bunk. You need to make sure that you have enough fuel to sustain everything.
Hmm.
And the more that I wear it throughout the day, the more I can sense that, you know? If I eat a big meal and then I get a little dizzy, lightheaded, whatever else, I can open up the app and be like, well, I'm feeling this way because it's spiking. Or if I've been training for a long period of time with, you know, haven't had a chance to eat, I can open up the app and be like, oh, yeah, I'm getting really tired. I'm getting really hangry. It's because my blood sugar is dropping.
Hmm.
And I can put those together. But like, I also see that when my blood sugar is dropping, it'll drop, it'll get dangerously low, and then it raises up a little bit. And it's like, okay, my body just went into fat stores. Like that's exactly what just happened. And like when I'm sleeping, my blood glucose is like perfectly across. Like at first, I was getting a lot of like drops into like hyperglycemic in the middle of the night. But after about 2 weeks of like changing up my diet, it's like, nope, it is perfect. I am not having any spikes or drops unless like I do something stupid like before I go to bed. But, once it gets back into its range, I'm just staying put.
Hmm.
And that's my body saying, okay, we're going into the fat stores now. You're good. You're eating well enough that like everything has digested properly, and either it's digesting everything as need be because I'm eating a lot of fiber, a lot of fats to help with that digestion, or else it's going, hey, fat, we are burning more fat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to look into.
Honestly, I think every single person should do it at least once just to figure out what their body needs. Because right now, I'm not actually logging into the app all that often compared to the first 2 weeks because I kind of know what to expect and I'm feeling it. So, like, my CGM is I run out next month. I have 2 more sensors left. And, like, do I think I need to stay on it? Maybe not. Again, Ultra Human, if you want to sponsor me and give me more CGMs for me to keep going without paying the high price, gladly. But like right now, I would say I will at least do it probably for a 3 month cycle once a year going into race season, particularly coming out of bulking season, just so I can figure out what my body needs at that time. Because I know, I mean, I'm a woman, so my hormones are always going to be changing. What I need for my body is always going to be changing. What everybody
Hmm.
needs for their body is constantly changing. So I know, I wear it for 3 months now. I will probably be able to fuel properly for the remainder of the season. But then I'm going to go into the winter and I, I'll put some weight back on. I'll probably eat worse than I am right now. And then I'll come out of it and my body is probably going to have some things that needs to be changed about my diet.
Yeah.
So go do it some more, go race, figure out what I need, and then kind of just coast for the season and so on and so forth. And if I notice that, my body fat is increasing and I'm still in the season when I need to be leaner, okay, maybe I'll just throw another patch on and get back on track there.
Which that's what's awesome about it. It sounds like it's one of those things that you could, you don't have to use it constantly. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck is they get like, hey, I used this and it worked great. Now I'm using it forever. It's like, no, you should be learning from it. And then
Mm-hmm.
every once in a while say, okay, I'm starting to notice some issues. I'm going to put one back on for 3 months. Just, figure out what may have changed in my body, what's reacting differently, and go from there. But I mean, that's part of us as humans. We should be learning and growing.
Yeah.
Like we started this when we first started talking. I mean, thinking what worked for you last year is going to work for you this year isn't always the case because things are different.
Yeah, exactly. I tell every single client when they start with heart rate training, they're like, oh my gosh, this is miserable, this is miserable, this is miserable. And they're like, I'm checking my heart rate all the time, or I'm checking my pace. I'm like, you check your pace, you check your heart rate consistently throughout your long runs, throughout your tempos. I mean, if you're doing your speed work and checking your heart rate, you're probably not going as fast as you need to be. But like, you want to see where that is consistently. You want
Mhm.
to try to match up your perceived exertion with where your pacing is at, with where your heart rate is at. So then on race day, you don't have to look at your watch. You should be
Yeah.
able to feel instinctively, oh, this feels like an 8:30 pace. I'm comfortably running an 8:30 pace right now. I can still talk. I'm still breathing. I have something left in the tank. I can push a little bit harder. Or, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can push any harder. I can tell that I'm redlining. My heart rate is way too high. I went off way too fast. I have to pull it back down. I have to find a little bit more comfortable pace where I can just keep running. And
Yeah.
that's what we're looking for. That's what I'm trying to do with this CGM.
Yeah. No. And I agree. And that was one of the things, like, when I lost the weight and everything, it got to a point where like you said, I was constantly looking at my watch, what's my heart rate, what's my pace. And then you hit a point where you just feel it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, my heart rate's good. And you're just running. And then you're like, oh, my heart rate's getting a little too high. Let's, drop my pace just a couple steps, and bring my heart rate back down, calm me down. And and you don't have to look at your watch, and that's, if you sounds like if you use the CGM, it's going to be the same thing. After a while, you'll feel it. You're like, ooh, hey, I'm spiking. I need to, you know,
Yeah.
I need to watch it, not eat that next time, stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I ate popcorn and I'm like, yep, I just screwed myself, but I really wanted popcorn.
because popcorn's amazing.
Hey, as you see in the pictures, like that popcorn didn't kill me. So, like, as one of my clients who got onto a CGM after we started talking about it, as she put it, it's just a policeman in your arm, you know? They're not going to go and smack the donut out of your hand, but they are going to say, oh boy, you just messed up. You messed up good. You're now going to pay for it.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of people realize too, and that's one of the things that, I'm trying to really definitely get back to. Um, Over COVID, when I changed my diet, was eating healthy, doing everything else, the difference your body feels.
Yeah.
And it's not just when you're working out, it's all the time. Just sitting in a chair doing nothing at work and you just feel better
Yeah.
because your body isn't trying to cram all that horrible stuff you ate through your guts, you know. But if you eat the right things, your body feels better, your hormones feel better, everything feels better. It's the same with working out. It's not, and like most people say, the easiest part of losing weight is working out and going to the gym. The hardest part is the diet.
It very much is. Last Friday I went to a concert. It was the Ghost Inside. It was phenomenal. Um, I was the concert was in Worcester. So if you're not familiar with Massachusetts, Boston is obviously along the ocean. Worcester is in central Mass. So that's about an hour-ish away from Boston. Massachusetts isn't very big. It's like, 2.5 hours across total. So it's like smack dab in the center of the state. I went there. I knew, okay, it's a typical show. It's gonna get out at like 11 o'clock.
Mhm.
By the time we get to the car, we get out, we get onto the road. I'm not, I left my truck parked at the studio. So my friend dropped me off at the studio. I got in my truck and then I drove the 15 to 20 minutes it takes to get home. And I'm like, great. I'm not gonna get home until like 12:30. And then I had a run scheduled for 8 a.m. down at the Blue Hills. Typically, I'm like one of those early birds. Like, I need to get there early. The Dunkin' by my house always has a line. So, like, I always need to like put in my online order before I, even leave my house. So then when I pull into the parking lot, don't even think about sitting in the drive-through, walk in, pick up my avocado toast and my coffee, and then get out to the trail. So I was like, the run's at 8. I'm getting home at 12:30. I am not going to get nearly enough sleep. Like I need my 7 to 8 hours. I go to bed stupid early. I can't stay awake past 9. And so I got home 12:30. My body woke me up at 6:45. I got, what is that like? It said it was under 6 hours of sleep. So the time might be off. I don't know.
Mm.
But I got under 6 hours of sleep. My body battery, even though it had almost completely drained, because I started work at 6 a.m. and I worked straight up until I went to the show. I did my yoga in between. My body battery drained out completely, went home. My body understood the assignment. Get to bed right away. Fell asleep. I mean, obviously, wash face, brush teeth, got into bed, fell asleep right away, slept for under 6 hours, fully recharged body battery. Like,
Wow.
what? I have so much trouble sleeping. I toss and turn. Like, I don't get deep sleep. I am sleeping great. Literally last night, if you haven't been following my Instagram stories, my ceiling decided to become a waterfall in my bathroom this past
Yeah,
week. So
it
we've been
happens.
dealing with a lot of bathroom stuff. Like, all of our bathroom everything is now in our hall because we can't actually put the stuff back into the bathroom then to take it back out for the plumber and the ceiling guy and the
Yeah.
electrician. So our hallways are stupid narrow. So like my roommate's been coming home in the middle of the night and like I don't blame her. Like she's tripping over everything that's from the bathroom that's in our hallway, making a lot of noise. Titan's waking up, he's barking. I'm so hydrated right now that like I'm going to the bathroom like twice at night. And I again woke up this morning like I need a break. I'm so tired. Full body battery. I looked at my restfulness, and for the first time I've ever seen it, it said I had good restful sleep. I'm like, what? I don't get restful sleep. I toss and turn. I have
Yeah.
never gotten restful sleep. But like my sleep quality has drastically improved. For other reasons that I'm not going into, like I had my therapist, I had to stop seeing my therapist. And like while I'm looking for a new therapist, I'm like, I feel great. Like, obviously, I know I'm going to need to go back and like start talking to a different therapist because I want to be proactive. But like right now, I'm not struggling for mental health stuff. I had an anniversary of a major traumatic event last week and like I was fine, which that never happened. And it's all because I'm finally getting everything regulated.
Which is awesome. And like I said, I think a lot of people don't realize that you regulate this stuff. It not only physically, but mentally, it helps.
Like, I get it, it's expensive. There are so many different CGM app tracking, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, do your research, find the one that works for you. I'm not sitting here and saying do Ultra Human, although they keep rolling out more and more features for their performance data, which is phenomenal. But like, if your goal isn't strictly performance, if you're not looking to be an elite athlete, if you just want to keep your body moving versus, running as fast as physically possible,
Yeah.
like that's fine. You can go and try another CGM company or wearable company, and like you're going to still see similar results. It's all just about learning what your body needs. It's not about this
Yeah.
is the brand that's going to work for you because it works for me, or this is the diet that's going to work for you because it works for me. I will always tell every single client, I'm not giving you a cookie cutter program. I'm not telling you to do what every single client is doing. I'm not regurgitating workouts. I'm not going to just regurgitate nutrition. I can give you
Mm.
basic nutrition guidelines. But if you really want to talk nutrition, let's get the legitimate information and say, like, what does your body need?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that, we've said it many times before. Just because it works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I think a lot of people are suddenly learning that the fad diets, the fad workout crazes, all of this stuff that was, so big 10, 15, whatever years ago, is people are learning really quickly. Like, Yes, it works really well for some people, but other people it doesn't work at all. And that's why I think a lot of people are figuring out that we have to learn. You have to learn not what worked well for you, but what works well for me. And I think that's what a lot of people are finally figuring out, that we need tools like this that say, hey, this is what keeps me spiking, but it may not make you spike, but it's making me spike. So, in learning our body and what our body and how our body reacts to things.
Yeah, it's literally the same thing that, we talked about with your hamstring, or we can talk about with shoes, or insert
Hmm.
whatever problem ever, occurs, you know? Your hamstring can be caused by all of these different things, and it's about we need to figure out why specifically your hamstring acted up. Okay. I know that I don't eat added sugars. I've always eaten very well, but I needed to figure out specifically what was it about my diet that was causing me to, retain bloating around my midsection, or to
Hmm.
not see definition through my arms, even though, I do ridiculous amounts of pull-ups, and I can overhead press all of this weight. And, you know, what is it that is causing my body to react this way? So, like, yeah, I can sit down and have conversations with you or whatever client I want to, and say, like, hey, these are the things you should be doing. But until we do the testing and we go through the specific data and the science of it all, we can't figure out what each specific person needs. Just like I will
No,
say, you need to go and get your movement process actually looked at and figure out what's going on with your hamstring. I'll
no,
tell every single client the first thing we're going to do are movement assessments. We are going to look at your heart rate data. We are going to look at the numbers, because I need to see where you're at and figure out what we can tweak to get changes for you.
no, no, which makes sense. But we're hitting oh, we're over the hour mark, so
How
we
did
should
that
probably.
happen? It
I don't
felt
know, it
like
happens
5
every time
minutes.
because it's just so easy to talk to you. So, and I mean, we always we find those subjects that both of us are just passionate about. Like, hey, people, do this shit, So yeah,
I feel like every single month we have literally the same conversation. Like, you don't know what you don't know. Talk to a trained professional. Stop trying to do this alone, and please, for the love of God, stop asking these stupid questions in forums.
yeah, yeah. What shoes do you need? Go ask somebody. What bike's the best one? Go get fitted. You know, yeah,
Exactly. Oh, I have this injury. What should I do? Go see a physical therapist.
yeah,
But don't go to any physical therapist. Go to a sports medicine person.
yeah.
Like, oh, can you give me workouts? Yeah, go to a trainer. Literally, I saw a friend on Facebook when I woke up this morning. They had a post said, "Can somebody give me free workouts to do?" And I'm like, stop. It's
See, and
nobody else's job.
I've done that like once where it's like anyone, I would be like, hey, does anybody have? But it's one of those like I've clarified, like this isn't for me. This is like group. Like when we go hang out, do our group stuff. I want group type workouts that are fun, not something for me specifically, kind of because for me specifically, it's like we've talked about. I mean, I need specific workouts to me, but
I remember the first time I walked, well, it wasn't the first time. I remember one time I walked into the Phoenix, and there was another guy there to take my class, and it was his first time coming to class. And he religiously takes CrossFit. Like, he's a really fit guy. Like, I set up a rig with the twisters and the twirly birds and
mhm.
the everything, and he's like just getting through them all. And um everybody's like, "Oh, what are we doing for class?" And I'm like, "I don't know." They're like, "What? You don't know?" I'm like, "No, I have no idea what we're going to do today." They're like, "Class starts in like 5 minutes. Why don't you know?" I said, "Well, because I haven't asked you guys what you want to do yet."
Mm,
And they're like, "You don't have anything in mind?" I'm like, "Well, no, this is your class. I'm going to write a workout for you." And he just looked at me like I was absolutely insane. Like, how do you not even have a workout prepared? And then, I said, hey guys, what do you want to do today? And people were like, I'd love to work on plyos. I want more cardio. I really need more abs and I need more pull-ups. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And as I'm going through, I'm like, oh, this person wanted this. So I'm doing this. This. They go through the class, we finish up. I said, okay, did anybody attempt anything new or get a new skill today? And everybody raises their hand. I said, so what did you think of class today? They're like, oh my God, that was brutal. That was a killer. That was such a great workout.
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm giving you what you guys are asking for. But like, I hear what you're asking for and I see what you need. And I'm like putting a spin on it. So it's like relevant to everybody. Another guy came up to me and we've talked about before, like every class, he's like, one of my favorite things about your class is that like you write a workout and it's always really hard, but then you give options and say, if you can't do a pull-up, that's okay. Try this instead, or try this. And if you need to go up another level, try this. And like, I never feel like this is out of, my ability level to an extreme. And I
Mhm.
feel comfortable here because you are speaking to me, even though I know that you are writing this for everybody. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I tell them, I always say, you're no good to me if I kick your ass. I want to push your comfort zone. So I'm going to find where you're comfortable at and I'm pushing a little bit more.
Just a little bit past.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
okay, tangent
Yeah.
over. I know we need to get out of here. It's
All right.
almost my bedtime.
Yeah. Mhm. All right. Well, you get some sleep and we will talk again soon.
Okay, this was great. Thank you.
All right. Yep.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.